All right, let's talk about something that happens to absolutely everyone. That moment when someone throws a little verbal jab at you, a taunt, and your mind just goes completely blank. We're going to break down why that happens and, more importantly, give you a playbook to totally own that situation. Okay, let's dive in.
So just picture it. You're hanging out, having a good time, everything's cool. And then out of nowhere, someone says something. It could be about your clothes, something you just said, whatever. And bam, that perfect, witty comeback you wish you had, it's just gone. It feels like your brain just crashed.
And listen, we have all been there. I totally remember being in college, and I bought these new shoes, thought they were the coolest thing, and a friend, right in front of everybody, just goes, "Whoa, where'd you get the tractor tires?" The whole group just erupts laughing. And I just did this awkward little smile, but inside, totally frozen. I'm sure you know that feeling. So what is actually going on inside our heads when that happens? Let's get into the science of what we're calling the social freeze, because really understanding the why behind it is the first real step to conquering it. Okay, so the first thing you have to get, and this is crucial, is that this isn't a character flaw. You're not slow. Your brain isn't broken. What you're experiencing is a super old, deeply wired biological response. Seriously, it's not you, it's your wiring. Let's meet the main character in this whole drama, a tiny little part of your brain called the amygdala. You can think of it as your brain's ancient alarm system. Its job is to spot threats, and it's been doing that for millions of years. But here's the crazy part. It can't tell the difference between a real physical threat, like a bear in the woods, and a social threat, like getting mocked in public. To your amygdala, an attack is an attack, period. And here's where it gets wild. Your amygdala literally hijacks your brain. When it senses that social attack, it just floods your system with stress hormones and reroutes all power to survival mode. Fight, flight, or, you guessed it, freeze. And in social situations, it almost always picks freeze. At the exact same time, your prefrontal cortex, that's the sophisticated part you need for logic, reason, and that killer comeback, gets completely knocked offline. It's like your shiny new 5G phone suddenly turns into a brick phone from the 90s. And that's why the perfect comeback hits you 3 hours later when you're trying to sleep. Okay, so now we get what's happening in the brain, but let's zoom out and look at what's happening in the room. Because when someone says, "Hey, I was just joking," well, they're usually hiding the real game that's being played. We have to look past that easy excuse, right? Is it really just a bit of harmless fun? Or is there something deeper, a psychological game going on? Because the answer to that question changes everything about how you should respond. So here it is. This is the secret. Almost every public taunt is a play for social power. It's a status game. By putting you down, even a little bit, they're trying to raise themselves up in the eyes of the group. And the group's laughter, that's the scoreboard. They're testing you to see if you're an easy target, and everyone else is watching to see how you handle it. Your response, or lack of one, sets your place in that little social hierarchy. Okay, so we've covered the brain science and the social game. Now for the good stuff. Let's build your new playbook. We're about to walk through 4 incredibly powerful techniques to not just defend yourself, but to actually flip the entire game on its head. I'm going to give you 4 super effective, psychologically backed techniques. You don't need to use all of them all the time, but just having them in your back pocket means you are always going to be ready for anything. Okay, first up, this one is probably the most counterintuitive, but man, it can be the most powerful. Your first instinct is to say something, anything, to fill that awkward void. The real power move is to do the exact opposite. So here's the play-by-play. Someone hits you with a comment, and instead of scrambling for a response, you do nothing. You just stay quiet, keep your shoulders back, and you look at them. Not angry, just kind of curious, like you're waiting for them to finish their thought. What this does is brilliant. They were expecting a reaction. They wanted you to get angry or embarrassed. By giving them absolutely nothing, you create this social vacuum, and all that pressure just rushes right back onto them. They will start to squirm, I promise you, and they'll almost always be the one to crack and break the silence, usually with something lame like, it was just a joke. And just like that, you've won, without saying a single word. All right, let's move on to technique number 2. This one is all about taking their weapon, their words, and turning it right back on them. You make them the one who has to do all the work. It's so beautifully simple. Someone makes a crack about your new haircut at a party. You just look at them calmly and ask them to deconstruct it for you. What do you mean by that? Or my personal favorite, I don't get it. Can you explain the funny part? You know what happens? The joke just dies. It completely evaporates. Humor has zero power when it has to be explained. Now they're stuck. They either have to admit they were just trying to be a jerk, or they have to stumble through some terrible explanation that just makes them look like an idiot. You've gone from being the target to being the one in charge. Okay, ready to level up? This next one's a bit more advanced. It takes some confidence, but when you pull it off, it is an absolute showstopper. It's called absurd agreement. The strategy is simple. You agree with whatever they said, and then you exaggerate it into something completely ridiculous. When you do this, you're showing them two things at once. First, that their little insult has zero impact on you, and second, that you're so confident you can just laugh at yourself. It totally disarms the attack because you've taken their little jab and turned it into your own, much funnier joke. You're not just blocking their shot, you're scoring on them. And finally, we have what might just be the highest status play of them all. This is a move that basically communicates that the person and their comment are so beneath you they don't even register on your radar. So let's say you're at a family thing and an uncle makes a comment about your old phone. You hear him, you register it, and then you just completely ignore it. You turn to your cousin and say, "Hey, did you catch the game last night?" By not even giving the taunt the dignity of a response, you are sending a crystal clear message. Your opinion is worthless to me. It's a massive power move that shows your mind is simply on more important things. Now, knowing these techniques is one thing, right? But being able to actually pull them off when the pressure is on, that's a whole other ballgame. So let's talk about how to build that foundation of confidence that makes all this stuff second nature. Think of these as your daily drills. Confidence really starts with how you hold yourself. So stand tall, shoulders back. When you do choose to speak, slow it down. Speak clearly. Rushing your words signals panic. And a slight, calm smile, that's your armor. It shows you're in control and you are not bothered. But the most important thing is to practice. Seriously, spend a couple of minutes every day just running through these scenarios in your head. The more you rehearse, the more automatic and natural your calm, powerful response will become. Look, at the end of the day, all of these strategies boil down to one simple truth. The person taunting you gets their power from your reaction. They want you to get defensive. They want you to get embarrassed. And when you refuse to give them that, whether it's with silence or a question or a joke or just by ignoring them, you take all of their power away. You're not playing their game by their rules anymore. You're making them play yours. So remember that feeling of freezing up? It's not a glitch in your system, it's a signal. It's a signal that a game is being played. But the difference is, now you've got the playbook. You are not the target anymore. You're a player. The only question is, what's your next move going to be?